Jai Hind children. Our today's topic is non-finite forms. Non-finite form is a broad and tough topic. And to understand non-finite form, you have to just go back in your previous classes. You have to understand the verbs also. You have to understand verb also has a very broad category. Okay, and you have to understand all the categories of the verbs. And this topic, non-finite, remains tough or remain difficult, confusing for the students, most of the students, because they do not try to understand the basics. And of course, if you do not have the basic, the thing will always be a typical one, a tough one. So I will be telling you in a easy way how to identify non-finite verbs. Okay, but as I have told you, you have to go to the previous one chapters. For example, tense. You all know what is tense, but you have to go through the tense once again. All the 12 forms of tenses. Clear? Because you have to not only understand here non-finite verbs, but you will also be knowing what are finite verbs. If you will be able to understand the difference between the finite verbs and non-finite verbs, easily you can identify in any sentence non-finite verbs, which is the today's topic. Okay, let's start. Verbs non-finite forms. So non-finite forms has three kinds. There are three kinds of non-finite form. First one is infinitive, second one is participle, third one is gerund. So there are three kinds of non-finite forms. Before starting our non-finite form, as it is one of the category of the verbs only. Verbs. Verb is classified into different categories. Verb is in itself a very broad topic. So, first we will try to understand what are those three categories. Okay, see here. Before understanding the categories, first I want to tell you what are verbs. It is a very common topic which you have been studying from your junior classes. Verbs means doing action. Verbs means doing action. Doing action. Whenever the words which just show you any action is going on, those words are verbs. So words that refer to an action, an event or a state of being are called verbs. Sentences are incomplete without verbs. What are verbs? Doing action. It can be an event also or a state of being also, which I have explained you in the previous class when I was just explaining you the chapter tense. Okay, and if you have not understood, you can go through your book, or you can go through the link also which I have given in my description box, which I have taken in the month of April or May. Okay, tense topic I had given you. So if anything is there which is not clear to you regarding this chapter tense, you can go through the link also or use your grammar book. Okay, so verbs, doing action, clear? Now let's proceed. Verbs can be classified into three main categories. Three categories I have given here. The The first one is main verb, second one is non-finite verbs, and the third one is auxiliary verbs. Okay, I have given you main categories. There may be more as linking verb. Linking verb is also one of the category of verb which I have not mentioned here. Causative verbs are also there. So what I want to tell you, I want to tell you only the main categories. Otherwise, this will be, means if I will be taking all the verbs, so this whole class will be based on the verb only. But what is your topic? Non-finite verbs. And that's why it's enough to understand you these three main categories. So first one is main verb. Main verbs, the root verbs are called main verbs. Main verbs means which can if we are using in any of the sentence, it can make its meaning clear. So main verbs are again classified into two kinds. These are transitive and intransitive verbs. Now what are transitive verbs? Transitive verbs which require an object. Whenever an object is there, those are your transitive verbs. Intransitive verbs, intransitive verbs do not require an object. Object, you understand, the thing. Any object may be there. For example, if I give you a sentence, she ate an big apple. She ate, A-T-E, ate. She ate an big apple. Have I used here any object? Yes, I have used here the object. My object is apple. So that's why here with the main verb. What is the main verb here? Ate. A-T-E, ate is your main verb here. And I have used this main verb in the second form in simple past tense. Okay. So main verbs can be classified into transitive and intransitive, and transitive whenever there is an object. For example, she ate an big apple. Intransitive verbs where there is no object. If I say she ate, full stop. I'm not telling what she ate. Okay, what did she eat? I'm not telling you. I'm only telling you she ate. So there is no object. It means this is here also I have used main verb. Ate, ate I have used. So in this main verb, what kind of main verb is here? This is your intransitive. Here. So main verbs can be classified into transitive and intransitive. Now come to the non-finite verb, which is your topic today. Non-finite verbs can be classified into infinitives, into participles and gerund, means three kinds are there of non-finite verbs, which we will be going through in detail in this class. In infinitive, we use to and first form of the verb. In participle, participle is divided into three kinds. It can be present also, it can be past also, it can be perfect also. How will you identify all the three? That we will be coming to know. Now, gerunds. Gerunds, wherever your verb is written in ing form. Here, with the verb you write ing form. Those are your gerunds. Gerund, work as noun. Participle, work as gerund work as noun. Yes, participle work as adjective. And infinitives work as subject also, object also. Okay. So, but we use only to and first form of the verb. So, these are your non-finite verbs. How will you identify infinitive? How will you identify participle? How will you identify gerund? We will be coming in the means in this session only. This is your first part, and this video, this class is going to be a this will be taking many classes, this chapter. non-finite verbs. Can we take 4 to 5 classes? Okay, because there are 3 parts and you have to know all the 3 parts. Third category is auxiliary verbs. Auxiliary verbs means there are helping verbs whenever we use helping verbs. And it can be non-modal, it can be modals. Non-modals, whenever our helping verbs are do, our helping verbs are have, or our helping verbs are be verbs. In do, whenever your helping verb is do. In do also, there can be 3, do, does, did. Okay, so do, does, did is your non-modal. In the same way, have also, have, has, had. 3 are there which you use in helping verb. Have they completed their work? Has he completed his work? So this is your helping verb. In the same way, be is also your helping verb. In be form of verb, there can be is, am, are, was, were. So these all are your non-modals which come under the auxiliary verbs category. Clear? Modals. Modals, you all know. Shall, should, will, would, can, could, may, might. These all you have read also. Okay. So those helping verbs are called your modals and those come under the category of auxiliary verbs. So here what we have to study about non-finite verbs. But these verbs are also important for you to understand, otherwise this non-finite verb will not be clear to you. So if you have understood what is main verb means main verb has 3 forms. First form, second form and third form. And it can be transitive also, it can be intransitive also. Okay. Go, went, gone is your main verb. Go is your first form, went is your past and gone is your past participle. And go, went, gone is just an example. There are many main verbs. And go, went, gone can be transitive also, can be intransitive also. In the same way, non-finite to go can also be there. In participle, going or gone can also be there, or having gone can also be there. And in gerund, going can also be there. In auxiliary verbs, again it is of two kinds. Non-modals. In non-modals, do, have and be means these auxiliary verbs are your helping verbs which you use along with the main verb. Suppose I say he is going. So is I have used with going. Go is your main verb here and is your helping verb. And be form of verb is your is means in be form of verb we can use is, am, are and was, were. And it comes under the category of auxiliary verb. Okay, and this is called your non-modal. Modals are easy. He will come, they shall come. Okay, we will go for a picnic, or you may collect the money for the for any cause. You can write. So may is your helping verb here, and it is your auxiliary verb. May is your modal here, which is a helping verb, and auxiliary verb is the category under which this may comes. Okay. So after understanding these all 3 main categories, let's start our today's topic, that is non-finite. Non-finite verbs. Non-finite verbs do not get affected by person, by number and tense like the finite verbs do. It means that finite verbs are always affected by the person, by the number and by the tense. But non-finite verbs are not affected by the person, by the number and by the tense. Clear? Do you know what is person? First person, second person and third person. which I had given you in the chapter tense when I was explaining you the chapter tense, if you remember. And number you know, singular number and plural number. And tense you also know all the 12 forms of tenses are there. So non-finite verbs will be same whatever the person, whether it is the first person, whether it is the second person or there is third person. Non-finite verbs will be same. It cannot change. In the same way, if there is singular number or if there is plural number, your non-finite verbs will not be changed. In the same way, if any tense is written there, present tense, past tense or future tense or any form of present tense, past or future, your non-finite verbs will not change. Okay, so non-finite verbs do not get affected by person, number and tense like the finite verbs do. But finite verbs, they are affected by person. As your person changes, suppose third person is there, so you will use another verb. If first person is there, you will be using another verb. Second person, another verb. So, where? In finite verbs. So, finite verbs are affected by person also. Finite verbs are affected by the number also, singular number, any other verb form, plural number, any other verb form. And finite verbs are affected by the tense also. In present tense, we use different finite verb. In past tense, we use different finite verbs. Have you understood what are finite verbs? Which are not affected by person, number and tense. Now, such verbs can also be used without a subject. Means non-finite verbs can be used without a subject also. In non-finite verbs, wherever non-finite verbs are written there can be a subject also, there cannot be a subject also. Subject, you understand, doer of the action is called subject. They cannot form an independent clause and cannot be used without the help of another finite verb in a sentence. So these non-finite verbs cannot form an independent clause. Independent clause, if you remember, I had given you what are independent clauses in the chapter conjunction. Independent clauses means the sentence or the clauses which can make its meaning clear without depending on any other sentence are your independent clause. But I am talking here non-finite. So non-finite verb cannot form an independent clause. Means non-finite verbs cannot make its meaning clear until there is a finite verb in a sentence. Whenever there is non-finite verb, only non-finite verb, the meaning will not be clear until there is a finite verb. So due to this property, such words are also called incomplete words. You can call to non-finite verbs incomplete words also. Why incomplete? Because they are dependent on finite verb to complete its meaning. So non-finite verbs can also be called incomplete verbs. Clear? Is it clear to you what are non-finite verbs? No, I know it is not clear to you. If it is clear, it is very good. But if it is not clear, just know the difference between finite and non-finite verb. I have given you already the difference. But through this chart, this table, we will be trying to understand what is the difference between finite and non-finite verbs. If you want to understand what are finite verbs, definitely without knowing, if you want to understand non-finite verbs, so you have to understand these finite verbs also. In the same way, if you have never seen, for example, if you have never seen a knight How does night look? You cannot understand how does day look. First you have to see the day, that the day is bright. Then only you will be able to understand that yes, night is dark. So there is a difference between night and day. The day is bright and the night is dark. In the same way, you have to understand these finite verbs also to make your concept clear. What are non-finite verbs? The differences are in this way. The first one is complete verbs that can be used on their own in a sentence. Finite verbs are your complete verbs, and it can be used on their own, means it can make its meaning clear in any of the sentence, in a sentence, in any sentence. Whenever finite verb is there, you don't use any other verb to make its meaning clear. But whenever non-finite verbs are there, it is your incomplete verbs that cannot be used on their own in a sentence. Here, see to the second point. Finite verbs carry tense. Whenever there is a finite verb, there is always a tense. The tense may be any. I have given here the example of simple present tense. I go to school. So which tense is here? Simple present tense. And what is the finite verb here? Go is your finite verb here. It is the main verb. Go is your main verb. Non-finite verbs do not carry tense. In non-finite verb, there is no tense. I want to go to ABC school. Here, in non-finite verb, there is no tense. How will you identify there is no tense? Because to go is your non-finite verb. And just before to go, there is no subject. But want is your finite verb, means main verb, because just before it there is a subject. So this point must have a subject. Finite verbs must have a subject, and non-finite verb can be used without a subject. You can understand from this example also. The last one point. Okay. So finite verbs always have a tense and non-finite verbs do not carry tense. In this sentence, as I have given you the example, to go is your non-finite verb because it cannot be changed in any other form. Clear? Have three forms. Finite verbs have three forms: go, went, gone, or any other verb. If you are taking main verb, any other main verb you are taking, all the main verbs have three forms. I have given here only one example: go, went, gone. In this way, many other main verbs can be there, and all the main verbs have three forms. Non-finite verb have only one form. For example, to go. You cannot write to went. You cannot write to gone. This will be incorrect if you are writing to went. If you are writing to gone, that will be incorrect. So, finite verb have three forms and non-finite have only one form. Finite verb must have a subject. Non-finite can be used without a subject, which already I have told you. For example, Disha goes to school. What is the subject here? Disha. We are talking about Disha. Okay. So the person about whom we are talking or the doer of the action is Disha. So here Disha is your subject. So finite verbs always have a subject, and this goes is your finite verb. Clear? It can be used without a subject. To go to school regularly is important. No subject is given here about whom we are talking. Okay, who is the doer of the action? No subject is given here. So non-finite verb can be used without a subject. Have you understood the difference between finite verbs and non-finite verbs? So these all differences you have to keep in your mind, because further when I will be giving you the kinds of non-finite verb, the three kinds of non-finite verb, do not get confused. These points should be there in your mind. Clear? Let's proceed. Here I have given you the example also, just to show you, to prove you the difference between the finite and the non-finite verbs. See, what is the difference? He wants to go with you. First see only the example, okay? Then we will talk about which is finite and which is non-finite. First see only the examples. He wants to go with you. Second example. They wanted to go with you. Third example. They want to go with you. You have seen all the three examples. What is the difference in all the three examples? I have written here wants. Here I have written wanted. And here again I have written want. Clear? And what is he? Subject. They. Subject. They again is here subject. To go. To go is your non-finite verb, and it remains unchanged in all the three sentences, although all the three sentences are written in different tense. Okay, first and third have same tense, but the subject is different. Here subject he is your singular, and here they is your plural. But the tense is same. They want to go with you is your simple present tense. And see the first one. He wants to go with you is also your simple present tense. Clear? They wanted to go with you is your simple past tense. So here if I write will, means if I am using will here, so in which tense it will be changed? It will be changed in simple future tense. They will want to go. If I will using here will. So there will be three different tenses. Okay. And there will be, see, finite verbs are written in different form. Here I have added S in want. Here I have added ed. Okay. Here I have written only the main form of verb. Why I have done so? Because our subjects are different. If you remember, I had given you in the beginning only that finite verbs are affected by the subject, by the number, by the person, by the tense. So this is the example. See, finite verbs are affected. Here he is given here. He is your subject and it is singular. And that's why in the finite verb you have used S. Here they is your subject. And which person is this? This is your third person. And which number? Plural number. And that's why in the finite verb, in the main verb, you have used ed, wanted. In the same way, in the third one sentence, they is your third person, but plural number. And that's why I have used here the finite verb only the want. There is no S. I cannot add here S. So finite verbs are affected by the number, by the person, and by the tense also. Is it clear to you? Have you understood what I want to tell you? That he wants to go with you is your simple present tense and finite verb is your wants. In the same way here finite verb is wanted. In the same way here again your finite verb is want. So there are three different kinds of finite verbs. There may be more kinds of finite verbs. There may be had wanted, there may be will want, would want, many may be there. Okay, and it all changes according to the person. This is first person, this is third person. Okay, if you is written here, you can be second person. Clear? So according to the person, these finite verbs are changed. According to the number, this is singular. Singular number, I have used wants. See the first example. Now see the third example. This is your which number? Plural number. In plural number, what have I used here? Want. So I have changed my finite verb according to the number. So finite verbs are affected by the number, by the person, and it always carries a tense. This is your simple present, this is simple past, and again this is your simple present. But non-finite verbs remain unchanged. There is no change in non-finite verbs. To go, I have used to go here also. I have used to go here also, and I have used to go here also. There is no change in non-finite verbs. Is it clear? I hope it is clear to you now. What I want to tell you, here I am only telling you the difference between the finite verb and non-finite verb. Still, I have not given you all the three kinds of non-finite forms. Okay, that is still left. Up to now, by now, your concept is clear, only that finite verb has three different forms, though the non-finite verbs remains unchanged. Means non-finite verbs are not affected by number, by person, or by any tense. Non-finite verbs are not affected, but finite verbs are affected. So this concept, only this concept is clear. Now see kinds of non-finite verbs. Non-finite verbs have three common forms. The infinitives, the participles, the gerunds. Infinitives, we will be just discussing about all these kinds in detail in our next class. But here you just listen what are infinitives. I'm just giving you the introduction, so that in the next class, when we will be going in detail about the infinitives, about the participles, about the gerunds, you may understand it in a better way. So infinitives can be of two kinds. There can be infinitives with to and first form of verb. Means how do we write infinitive? We write to plus v1. V1 means first form of the verb. So those can be your infinitives, and your infinitives can also be without to. It means that infinitives may be written without using to, and those are called bare infinitives. B-A-R-E, bare infinitives. Clear? So infinitives may be written using to also, or it can be written without using to also. And that's why there is a confusion, but there will be no confusion when we will be discussing it in our next class. The participles may be of three kinds. There may be present participle, there may be past participle, there may be perfect participles also. In present participle, we use with the verb ing. In past participle, we use with the main verb ed, en, okay, or n or d in the last. Means if I wrote completed, I have used here ed. Okay. So in participles, in past participles, we can use ed, en, d or en only, and only n also we can use. In perfect participle, we use having, having, and then third form of the verb. In perfect participle, having and v3. These all also we will be discussing in detail in our further classes. Gerunds. Gerunds we write with the first form of the verb ing. ing. V plus V1 plus ing. Clear? So these are your three common forms. The infinitives, the participles, the gerunds. Where the students are confused, where you all are confused? Because in the participle also I have told you that we use in the present participle V1 plus ing, and in the gerund also I have told you V1 plus ing. So this participle and gerund may confuse you. How will you identify? You can identify in this way. This all I am giving you just introduction. This we will be discussing in detail. Okay. So participle you can identify in this way when your verb is working as an adjective with V1 plus ing, but it is working as an adjective. How will you identify that your verb is acting, your verb is written, or your verb is just qualifying the noun? Whenever anything is qualifying the noun, that is your adjective, no? So, how will you identify that? I will be telling you. And gerund, V1 plus ing, whenever your verb is enacting as noun. Whenever V1 plus ing is written or is working as a noun, that will be your gerunds. Okay, I know that it is not very much clear, but as our time is over now, so we will be discussing in our next classes the three common forms. Okay, students. Now, what you have to do today? You have to just go through your grammar book and you have to go through the non-finite verbs form only and nothing else you are doing. You are not writing anything in your English V notebook. You are not solving any exercises in your book also. Okay. So go through your chapter non-finite forms and whatever I have told you, just you will be getting the same in the book also, but that will be a revision. And always after completing your class, if you are doing the revision, as I have given you in the beginning also, that will be retaining in your mind. Okay, okay students. We will be meeting in our next class. Goodbye students. Take care.